We're hunting, young ones. Here, hello. Just dying right off the start. Hello, welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. I am Edolas Craftsdwarf. Fairy Tail is my favorite manga. I am an elf who, I don't know, fuck. I'm math, and this is my co-host, Edolas Mathwiz, who hates math. I don't know.
Hates math and is excited to talk about Fairy Tail.
Yay! Yes, that's the opposite of us both enjoy Fairy Tail. What do you know? Oh boy.
This will be the podcast where Mathwiz controls the conversation and Craftsdwarf has to fight to get a word in edgewise.
Hey, in this case, it's different because you don't have anything to say anyway. I don't know. I like I said, I'm trying. I try to get you to say things, but it's Fairy Tail. We can only. I mean, I will say, like, this is. I honestly like the comments more. Like, the comments have interesting things to say sometimes. More interesting. Like,
So you enjoy reading the comments more than reading the story?
You saw opportunity and you jumped. I applaud that. Maybe like it's kind of like. It is kind of like Bleach in that way. Was that with Bleach, or what series was it where I like discussing it more than talking, or maybe it was Rave. Yeah, so it's more Mashima, I guess, where it's like, yeah, that was the case with Rave, where like reading it we were like, oh, this is pain, but actually like discussing it afterwards was fine, more or less, at least for me.
Yeah, since you brought up Rave, I'm starting to, I think, realize that I might enjoy Rave more, like slightly more,
which is fair. Maybe. Like, Fairy Tail is like less clunky and a bit more solid in parts. Like I'd say Lucy's probably like one of Mashima's best characters, but like Rave, yeah, I don't know, something about Fairy Tail hurts more. I don't know, maybe it hurt me. That's the thing with me. It hurt me personally, so I'm I don't know. I will never. Maybe I'll never get over it. I don't know. I wish I could. So I have a bunch of comments. You have none, as usual, which is understandable.
I'm sorry, I'm failing the fans once again.
So anyway, Pikachu Hermit asked me what moment in Oration Seis made me drop it. Maybe I wasn't clear. I did not drop Fairy Tail during Oration Seis. I did not drop it until, not Edolas, but the next reading is when we start. Then we're gonna get to the parts where I said where I claim I dropped, where I remember dropping it multiple times. I dropped Fairy Tail multiple times in the next stretch of chapters.
But that also means that you picked it back up multiple times.
Exactly, and that's gonna be fun to explain. I'm looking forward to next time, though. Again, it's going to be delayed. We're doing this episode earlier, and because next week's Anime Expo starting, and we're not doing it the week after that because that's Anime Expo goes across the weekend basically, so it's like not a huge amount of time to do the reading. But the week after that we'll be back on the Nen Show, so there'll just be a 2-week break. But anyway, to finish the question, I did not drop Oration Seis during while reading it weekly. The moment that made me I think it made me angry, even though in retrospect it's not that bad. It's not really that iffy. It's like, when the whole here's the chapter, like the ship from Blue Pegasus comes in, immediately gets fucking destroyed. Then they have the team fight against Oration Seis, and all the like it's 2 against 1, and the good guys get wrecked. And I was like, what the fuck? Because like the bad guys are better at teamwork than the good guys, but that was kind of the point because the guilds weren't really unified with each other. But like I just remember finding that frustrating, especially because I knew they were going to split off into one-on-one fights and, do better solo than they did, in the team. And that's kind of what happened. I don't know. I'm not saying it was a rational reason to get angry, but like this arc in general has like, I went over other stuff before. It's got a lot of dumb things. Oration Seis. There was, Katabe is still going with the counts, of course. Like, some of them are getting fucking high. Like, there was, 47 characters who are, evil for the sake of being evil? Like, I imagine, of course, Oration Seis would spike that number if it did, But anyway, he also had a comparison between the two Oration Seises with, Raves and Fairy Tales, and there were some weird, comparisons I hadn't thought about, the leader is 2 people because, Brain and Zero, and Haja had another person in his face. And I forgot about that. And I was like, what? That's right. It's just a weird, it's not major stuff, but it's just like the weird similarities. Like, Cobra and Jigan are both like dragon-related people who fought an aerial battle with another dragon-related protagonist. So, because Cobra and Natsu were both dragon slayers, Jigan and Let were both dragons themselves. So I was like, huh. I laughed because at the Belial Hot Eyes comparison, because they're both earth-powered mages who had disappointing fights, and I was like, that's a silly thing to take note of, because it's more personal, but I get it, because the Belial one was like, oh yeah, I'm so strong on earth, and then Haru just came out and beat the shit out of him, and then Hot Eyes, the fight ended because he turned good. Or no, he got wrecked by Brain later too, so there was a few others. Those were just the ones I thought were the most fun to take note of. Gabe Wright Dunn talked about my plot theme comments. They were kind of truncated from my video. I wasn't really aiming to talk about how they work with each other, so it's a fair observation to make. And it was a rambly bit based off of another rambly bit. So, I it mostly came about thinking about like Fairy Tail and Young Justice, which I had watched, where I felt like they were just coming at the writing angle from opposite sides. Where Fairy Tail, I wouldn't say it's more interested in theme, but that's more. I'm getting more out of the themes than I am in the plots. That's kind of chunky at times. Where Young Justice is much more cohesive plot wise, and there's relatively less going on thematically. That was the whole reason I made that side channel video. So probably maybe not super appropriate to bring up in the podcast, because a bridge like that. I don't know. God, I'm not even half done with my comments. That was just 3. Which is fine, because, this is going to be a short episode anyway. Edolas is going to be short. But so the comments are kind of fluff it out. Gotta hit that hour mark. If we're shorter than an hour, we failed as podcasters, right? Because that's the whole point of podcasts. You just make a lot of content easily. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm gone. Anime Eric was doing what I wish I could, because he basically was trying to get things out of the Racer Gray fight, and made an observation that might tie into another comment. But I try to find the good parts in everything, at least the parts that interest me, because I do like talking about themes and how the stories work and what they're trying to say, accidentally or not. And but I'm only a human, so if I'm disinterested or angry, it's going to be harder for me to do that. Like I mentioned this before. And with the Racer thing, I was more interested in talking about the stupidity of his powers, even though it didn't matter. It's what does it matter at all? I just thought about it too much, and I didn't like it. And so as a result, I didn't get much out of the fight. And Eric was like, oh, well, Racer wants to be fast, but he's not, because there was another comment, Hannelore talked about how had a very good comment about the how the arc was sort of all the antagonists they refused to accept that they were doing bad. Fucking Brain literally had 5 other people so that he could have a seal on his inner darkness. He was kind of a piece of shit himself, but he had an even worse person inside of him. And Cobra was doing, Hot Eyes was the only one who was like, hey, maybe we're not doing the right thing, and he was the only one who kind of got off in the end. Angel was a piece, I'm not sure if they were outright thinking themselves to be good people, but Cobra wanted to talk to his friend. Racer wanted to be the fastest. They had goals, and I have no idea how Nirvana was supposed to tie to their goals, but they just got, I don't know. Maybe, I think in one of the afterwards, Mashima mentioned that he wanted to give them more backstory, so maybe more context would have helped. But, I don't know, I liked Hannelor's comments, and I felt like Eric's observation might tie to that in some way, because, again, Racer's, because he's not just he's not trying to better himself at all. He's just and I guess I could also tie that to Angel, because she was she saw celestial spirits as tools, and that kind of fucked her over. So, just by not recognizing the shitty parts of you can't get better, basically. So there's possible that angle to consider if I ever try to reconsider Reishi Seis. So that was fine. This one I guess goes to both of us. Otts486 asked, how big does a plot hole need to be in order for you to be unable to overlook it in regards to the themes and ideas? So At what point does it become too big for you?
This is actually an interesting comment because it was something I was thinking about. I feel like it's less about, I don't know. Because I feel like if the story has other elements that can, like, distract me, like if I'm already enjoying the elements of the arc or the story that's being told, it might just be easier for me to kind of, like, brush it aside on that. Like, not necessarily, like, ignore it, but, like, if there's more for me to take away from the arc besides the plot hole, then I'm less interested in the plot hole, I guess. Whereas, like, with Erasion Says, I already wasn't really interested in, like, the story that was being told, so there wasn't really anything to distract me from the stuff that was there. So I don't know if it's necessarily... Now, I mean, a good story could probably have a really big plot hole, and that might be like, oh, that could have been fixed. Like, not to say that, like, Pell blowing up was a plot hole and, surviving, but, like, I guess just, like, any sort of, like, more negative thing I could take away from something in an otherwise, like, really good arc, it would depend. Yeah. I don't know. Like...
Go on.
No, you go ahead, I'll keep thinking.
Okay. Yeah, well, because I guess with me, it's like, obviously, like, plot holes, if they, they cause contradiction, but sometimes, like, at the same time, what people might point out and say, that's a plot hole, might actually be meaningful, like, Luffy eating Katakuri doesn't make any sense, it's a plot hole, but, like, there's reasons for it, it does make sense, but, like, so in my case, like, how should I explain it,
Well, yeah, I guess it depends if, like, what is being criticized is actually a plot hole and not just true. Like, oh, that doesn't, like...
Because, like, yeah, I guess the thing is if it does take away the meaning, that's like, when it's actually important, if, like, it contradicts, or if it contradicts the setting in a way, like, obviously, like, people are human, art is kind of art has mistakes. Like, I read Crime and Punishment, I think, and there was literally a part where the translator says the author fucked up the time, like it was sunset twice in the same day or something like that, or it was sunrise, like he messed up when it was for, like, a specific end.
Oh, it's been so long since I've read Crime and Punishment. Oh, yes. Man, this
so
brings
this
back
is
memories.
Like a respected piece of literature that has, like, a legitimate mistake, and
yeah,
so it's like they don't care. The people academically reading this book and discussing it, like, because it has a mistake or a quote unquote plot hole, like, an error, it doesn't detract from the meaning and what people have taken from it, and so, because if it did, then people wouldn't talk about it for that meaning, because, even if it, like, attempted to do this interesting thing, it still kind of stumbled where maybe something else might have succeeded. And like, I guess, like, I like Nirvana having 8 legs when it first showed up and then 6 legs later, that doesn't matter at all. Like, it's just like a little Mashima fucked up, and he came up with a goofy explanation that I kind of think is funny, where, like, Mira and Lucy were like, oh, maybe it dropped legs because it was trying to go faster, and it's like, yeah. That's so stupid, but it's funny. So, where it's like Racer, his power being the way it did actually, like Eric said, made some kind of sense, in regards to, like, the conflict. But, like, it was just how it was presented was at complete odds with, like, everything. Because it wasn't shown to be a speed power or it was shown to be a speed power until the chapter that it needed to stop being a speed power. And that was a mistake that, like, I don't think necessarily, maybe what I'm trying to say is they're not necessarily exclusive from each other. Like, you could have the meaning and, like, because the meaning is there and the quote unquote plot hole is there with how it was presented. But, like, I'm not sure if I'd say, I guess part of it is that, like, the plot holes, they reveal that the story is artificial. Like, when you recognize it, you're like, oh yeah, it's not like a world with people inhabiting it. It's a story. Someone is making this. It kind of breaks that illusion. And whether that like, suspension of disbelief is a personal thing. Whether an individual's suspension of disbelief is broken by a particular work or not, that's up to them, and I guess, yeah, it's like, I'm not sure how I would say, like, it matters for the reading, like, because, yeah, it does, how the power was presented kind of contradicted it. So is the meaning significant to overlook that? I'm not sure, outside of my own personal feelings. Like, I could talk about my personal feelings all day. That's easy. It's when it comes to, like, the reading of the material and making a good argument. That's that's what I try to do with my main content. For a podcast, like, obviously it's gonna be rambly. But yeah,
that's another thing I wanted to kind of touch on is like for a podcast, it is more like free form, unscripted. It's just kind of whatever comes to mind. So like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to like make a video about the plot holes in Fairy Tail, for example. Like, there's a different level of like passion because like for the Eration Seis arc, even if it has plot holes, I was already like not super interested in the arc, so that would also mean I'm not super interested in the plot holes. Like, even if they jump out more than, like, the material itself for whatever reason, I'm also not, like, super, like, oh, I'm gonna go make a video, Eration Seis. I don't know.
Like, maybe if you were, like, really getting really invested in this one idea, like, Mashima introduced a new character, and you're like, oh my god, I love them immediately. And then he fucks something up majorly later down the line.
Yeah, that makes me think of, I mean, like, again, to bring up Pell again, like, that's kind of what the moment had felt like for me. And I know, like, there was more of a discussion to be had on that moment. I'm just bringing it up as, like, an example of a thing that happened during the podcast that we talked about.
Right.
That was something, like, I was passionate about the arc, and yeah, like different levels of
so
interest.
It was because that was like, oh, this is the best One Piece arc, and then so far, and then of course the Pell thing happened, and you're like, but it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, even though it's like there's nothing technically wrong with it, but it does like, again, it's like the kind of lying thing, like you're feeling these emotions, but then the author was just tricking you, that could understandably feel unsatisfying, like it didn't matter, and surprisingly, like, I'm trying to think of, like, what's the, like, worst fake-out death in Fairy... Probably the Leon Racer thing, just because of how weirdly it was handled and how the anime fixed it. I mean, the anime fixing it was nice, but we're not watching the anime. Oh, no. There was another one that was revealed at the end of this reading.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Forgot about that. But we'll talk about that later. Oh yeah, but I guess just to remind, because we've talked about it before, but it's like, yeah, this is the unscripted, like, first thoughts. Not first thoughts. I've read Fairy Tail before, but
it depends on like who is the one talk. Like for me, this is like a first impressions of Fairy Tail podcast, maybe more of like a review. Whereas like Craftsdwarf could maybe say a little more, because I know like we have gotten comments like, well, if you're not saying anything analytical, why are you talking? Or I don't know. Or like sometimes we'll ramble on, which is fair.
Like now. But go on.
Yeah. But it's just different perspectives going into it. Like, if we do something that we've both talked about, maybe we'll twist it and we'll try to not do the same format. I don't know.
I'm kind of curious. That's why I'm looking forward to Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter, because we have both gone through it. Like, I've gone through Hunter x Hunter twice, manga and anime. You've gone through it probably roughly twice, if not more.
Pretty
anime
much.
Only. Oh, and there was the other, both animes, that's right, yeah. So, that discussion should be nice. But we'll see how it goes. But and yeah, to finish my thought is like, compare, our discussion of Naruto, which was like as nitpicky as the Fairy Tail one, if you could say, or just like I don't remember being this negative since Naruto.
No,
really,
yeah,
like
the
that.
Naruto one had a lot of like really bad moments in it. Like I can remember me going like, oh, Sakura cut her hair, completely like ignoring the fact that that's like a trope,
right.
that like it's the character development haircut. Which now I know, but at the time I was like, whoa, is it?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like, because I guess to compare is that with Naruto, we were kind of like not caring as much about the meaning. That took us a while to sort of like get into, but with Fairy Tail, it's like, I'm trying. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best. And, I'm liking the comments because they're able to like show me the perspective that I'm missing personally. Like so far, the only thing I've really gotten invested into, and I feel like I'm making my best observations on, is Lucy, because she's good. I wish she wouldn't get assaulted so much, but she herself is good. But yeah, it's like, and again, compared. So yeah, the Naruto one where like we found some of our most interesting like observations after the show, or. Another one, watch my Luffy video and then go back and go to the horrible Sabaody discussion where I'm like, oh, never run away. Because that's what One Piece is trying to say. Never run ever in your life. Because that's what I got out of it reading it. But then I read Impel Down in the War and I'm like, oh, no, wait, I'm fucking wrong. Because I didn't... But the Luffy video is where I'm right. It's where my arguments, make the most sense, I think. So... It's just because that's I guess to skip to my last comment, Sasuke Shoto fan, he was wondering if we're being too critical of Fairy Tail, how do you feel? I mean, you're kind of like dead when it comes to talking about Fairy Tail, but I want to hear your thoughts anyway.
I don't know. Like, maybe it's possible. Like, a lot of Fairy Tail is just kind of like not sticking with me. Like, it's I don't know. Like, I don't want to just rag on it. But I don't know if
But if there's nothing for you to say nice, like, I guess that's your whole relationship with Fairy Tail.
Like,
if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say it, or go on.
Yeah, I feel like I have had some good things to say about Fairy Tail. Like, I'm still trying to look for the good moments, and there are some good stuff in there. I don't know, maybe there's just not enough balance. I don't know.
Because, like, I definitely say I probably have, like, especially compared to, I mean, Naruto, I'm not sure, I'm afraid to re-listen to the Naruto Nen Show because I probably think I'm a fucking idiot, like, looking back. Like, goddamn,
I mean,
shut
like,
up, you stupid.
honestly, there are, like, even for, like, the Bleach one, like, looking back on it, it's probably, some of those things we had to say probably don't hold up anymore, like, now that we've had more time to think on it.
Yes, and, like, I'm glad we did those podcasts because that's kind of where, like, I kind of settled, like, how I want to talk about media. But, with Fairy Tail, it's like, I don't know, I don't feel like I'm looking at Fairy Tail any differently than I would with something like One Piece or Bleach or Naruto. Like, yeah, I'm complaining about it because I do have some specific... It's a very personal series to me. I really liked it back in high school, and then I stopped. And that's why it's... And I also really connect to the author. Because I wrote my fan fiction, and I don't think it's that good, but I've been getting comments from someone who's been reading it, and apparently they cried for 10 minutes over a character death, and, like, it feels good to make people feel emotions, and that's probably the strongest emotional reaction I've gotten out of anything like that. 10 minutes? That's, like, I've gotten people teary-eyed and stuff over my videos, but that's, like...
You heard it here first, folks. Craftsdwarf enjoys making people cry.
Yes, I love it. Cry, please. Yeah, because again, and Mashima has also, like I talked about it in part 7 of the tirade, is Mashima wants people to feel emotions from his manga. That's why he does manga. So it's like, I connect to him as a person, and so like, but I also feel like yeah, I'm not maybe. My emotions of Fairy Tail get in the way of the reading, which is why I'm enjoying the comments who are able to give me some, perspective that I hadn't considered. But, like, the parts that I do notice, like, I might make a Lucy video. Like, if there's enough to say in regards to the end of her character arc with the final arc, I'd love to make a Lucy video, just like my normal stuff. Just a positive, like, here, let me examine Lucy's character arc. It won't be 20 minutes like the Sasuke video or something, but it wouldn't be much different than my other stuff. And that, like, I feel like yeah, maybe not everyone's could or should even read stuff the way I do, or just like think of, but and that's I'm not sure what I'm trying to say there, but like. I just feel like being critical of everything allows me to find the good in anything, even if I can't necessarily find the good in everything, because, again, I'm only human. I'm sorry. Like, I watched Cutie Honey lately. It didn't care for it, except for Re, the OVA from 2003. That was kind of fine. But, like, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yes, I'm critical of Fairy Tail because I try to be critical of everything that I care about, that I care to read, rather. But,
And speaking of Fairy Tail, we can start discussing it.
Hey, that was my last comment, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you said that was your last comment. We're only 20-something minutes into the podcast. Let's start talking about
the comments are important. So, starting off, we get Gildarts, the strongest mage of Fairy Tail, has come home, and, He's strong. Like, I love how he, like, knocks Natsu into the roof, and Natsu's so happy about it. He's like, wow, you're so strong. Like, that's adorable.
No, yeah, that was a good moment. Because we've seen, like, Natsu get beat up so many times, and he's just, like, dead. But this time he gets, like, beat up, and he's like, yay!
Yes. And apparently the 100-year quest was so tough that not even the strongest mage of Fairy Tail could do it. But he was the only person to return alive, so he's got that going for him. Even though he got fucked up, apparently. He lost an arm.
An arm, a leg. Yeah.
Yeah, just destroyed. Also, see, it bugs me. I don't like. Maybe it's because he lost the left arm. Maybe later on he gets some slight design changes because it always happens in the manga. Like you go back, if you went back and read chapter 1 again, you'd probably be like, whoa, the characters look slightly off. That kind of thing. But people say Gildarts looks like Shanks, and he does not look like Shanks right now.
No, yeah, I don't really
see
not unless it's like he's got the cloak thing. He's got the
cloak. He's got the
beard
thing. I don't the slight stubble, and of course the missing left arm. But like not right now. Well, another thing, like honestly, the character I seem to remember him looking more like was, I don't remember his name, but in Rave there was Ellie. She had the guardian, the caretaker, the old guy. As Raisha rather, as a kid. Remember? Like when she was in front of her own gravestone, the guy who was with her. Like, I'd say Gildarts looks a little closer to him than Shanks, at least right now. So, I just thought I brought that up because, there was another comment I missed by, what was their name? It was a comparison between Laxus and a character from
Hitman Reborn. I did see that one.
I just wanted to bring that up because I know some people on my Discord server have read Reborn. I have not. The comment was by, Igor Sahar. So yeah, I don't have any context because I have not read Reborn, but I just wanted to bring that up because of, apparently it's a similarity. So maybe someone will be like, hey, you're right, that's similar. He did specify that at the end that there were some differences, but still some uncanny resemblances too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll read Reborn one day. It exists. So yeah, just something I thought was notable from the comments. So anyway, Gildarts apparently got defeated by a black dragon, and Natsu gets mad because he thinks it might be, he wants, maybe the dragon knows something about Igneel. He's about to take any lead he could, but of course it's dangerous, so he gets he doesn't end up going after the dragon, but he's mad. So yeah, this I guess like this arc did have a lot of focus on the Dragon Slayers, like especially with the final fight. But beyond that, I don't think it advanced the running secret plot as much. So I guess we'll see.
On a different note, I'm realizing now, like with the way you set up the chapters, it's like in this first chapter we get kind of like the setup for something that like bookends the chapter, because he's like, oh, you and Lisana really hitting it off these days, huh? And then he's like laughing and whatnot, having a good time, and Natsu's just like, she's dead. And he's like, oh, it's just a really big like oof moment. Like
because he's so distant from the guild, and he's even says like, aha, look at you blush. Like he's like expecting a certain reaction because they were cute as kids. So, but then Natsu's not even having that reaction. He's just like serious, and he's like, she's dead. He's just been gone. Yeah, that was a moment. And I thought it was weird, like, cause like a little later on you have Elfman and Mira going off to the grave to see Lisana. So it's like he's calling a lot of attention to Lisana coming back before bringing her back, or to Lisana in general before bringing her back, I should say. Mm-hmm. So, but I'll mention that later. We'll talk about Lisana coming back when she actually comes back. There's a little bit of Gajeel trying to find his cat, which is adorable.
Yes, Gajeel is the aesthetic character. I think that's confirmed at this point.
He just needed the extra layer of goofiness to make it. I see.
Goofy, edgy boys are the aesthetic.
They are good, yes. And it's also great later on when he fights Panther Lady. It's like, you're my cat. Panther Lady's like, what the fuck is going on? That was good too. Gajeel is best, yes. And I just love the panel of him, like, with all the scratches. Like, he's made of metal, but the cats still fucked him up. Like, what kind of fucking cats is he running into? But anyway, so yeah, everyone's kind of moping around in the rain, and Mystagon finds Wendy. I didn't want to say anything last time, but you can actually see, like, the younger Jalal in that Wendy flashback has, like, a staff on his back. And I was wondering if you'd be like, oh, maybe it's Mystagon instead of Jalal. But, so I didn't say anything, but, because I knew, obviously. But, yeah, here he comes out to reveal it. That was, because he mentioned Anima back then and left Wendy with Kate Shelter. and now he's here back to explain it all. Because Anima is apparently going to suck up the entire village. See, and I know exactly why this arc's gonna be short, because it's like it builds up a mystery, you know, or like we're like a lot of the arc is exploring like, oh, what's happening, what's going on, you know, and then we find out, but we've already read it, we already know what's happening, so
I felt like it was I feel like the arc could have been like slower paced, and like it could have. But then, like it could have done more to, like, I don't know, explore that kind of, like, alternate world. But then at the same time, I had said this to you before the podcast, like, Mashima hits a lot of the beats, like, really quickly. Like, he introduces, basically, like, the alternate fairy tale. But he kind of basically touches on everybody, just, like, rapid fire. So it's like, well, what else more could he really have, like, expanded on if he had? So, like, I don't know. On one hand, I would have liked this arc to maybe do a little more, but at the same time, you know, having an arc that kind of like draws things out and overstays its welcome, also not great, so maybe it was fine.
Oh, we'll have some longer arcs later, don't you worry. Because this one was only 33 chapters. I think the next one, it's technically 2 arcs, but the second arc is like only like 7 chapters long or so. But I think it's like, I think it'll be the longest arc thus far, because like most of the arcs have been pretty short. Like, the readings have been, like, 50 to 60 chapters, but they've been, like, 2 arcs each, if not more. Yeah, next arc is going to be 50 chapters. And then after that, we're going to have an arc that's, like, 72 chapters. So, see, because we talked about this before, but it's, like actually, Fairy Tail, honestly, like, hasn't had, like, a majorly long arc. Like, we're 200 chapters in, and they're having their first big arc, where, like, One Piece would have had Alabasta by now. Naruto had the Chunin exams. Bleach would have gone through Soul Society. I forget what Rave's longest arcs were, but I don't know. It just feels like it's slightly longer before we're getting into like the really long stuff, you know. So, because Fairy Tail's arcs have been mostly short and more or less so far. So that's something. But yeah. So anyway, everyone's at the guild. Anima sucks them up. Though as it turns out, they didn't suck up. Like, we only see Wendy and Natsu being safe, but because I mean, where was Natsu? I'm trying to remember. Was Natsu at the guild? I don't think so. Because Lucy was at the guild, but she got protected by Horlogium, and Gajeel was also fine. And Misogan sent him up later. So, it's not. I don't know. Just damn it, I'm thinking about the plot shit that doesn't matter again. But there's a plot hole. No. Anyway, so, but yeah, they talk about it a bit. Carla explains, that was her. Like, I guess this is like the Exceed focus, because it's got Happy. This is Happy's episode, I guess. So, because we find out like what he is. Like, oh no, they're from a different. They're cats, but they're interdimensional cats. From a world without magic, and like I kind of liked how the whole thing that they have wings was kind of twisted into them being like angels, like godly figures. That was a cute little like they've always had wings, but now it's like a thing. So that's nice. But they go into Edolas, and they find Fairy Tail. What did you think about the introduction to Edolas version of Fairy Tail?
I mean, I don't know, like, it was goofy, it was fun. Like, you had Gray's gimmick was like, oh, he wears too many clothes, and everyone's like, Gray, take off some clothes. Because, like, he can't stand the cold, which is, like, the opposite to the guy who has ice powers, so that was neat. Right,
and he likes Juvia, who's not interested in it, and Jed and Droy are the strongest members of the guild. Just goofy shit. Like, I do like Edolas Lucy is kind of fun, and Edolas Natsu I also kind of like. Even though it's just dumb. It's just such a dumb thing where it's like, oh, Natsu gets sick on transportation, so he's good in transportation, but he's like a crybaby outside of it. So that was kind of funny.
Edolas Natsu was pretty cool. Because like it also kind of like works in the fire powers because he's the fireball because he like drives a fast car, which was it was so interesting.
So kind of fun. Though I think I forget if I thought about it or not, but like, and of course it also solves the mystery with Mistogan because he's the Edolas version of Jalal. So it's like, there's two, like, that's why he introduced himself as Jalal to Wendy, because, like, he was just Jalal. Like, yeah, I'm Jalal, that's my name. But no, there was another one there, so he didn't know about. But yeah, they also assume that the Lisana is the Edolas version when she's actually the real one. But that comes up later. But yeah, there's just general, like, world building stuff explaining what's going on. Like, the kingdom is basically like, they control basically the entire world. And of course they're highly restrictive with magic.
So my interpretation of this arc was, like, I don't know, something to do with, like, power, because you have, like, the people from Earth who have, like, the power is, like, inside them, like, they possess the power, whereas, like, the other people, like, wielded it, because, like, they have to use magic and weapons. And then there was the whole thing with, like, the king, and he's a guy. I don't know what the overall message is with regards to that.
Well,
actually, maybe I'll have more time to think about it once we get to the ending, because now I'm starting to connect the dots.
I see. Because, like, well, he says, like, oh, he doesn't want the magic to end. Like, he refuses to let go of this limited resource, to the point where he's willing to steal it from the Fairy Tale Guild, like, or from, Earthland in general, because they have all this magic power. So, they basically abduct an entire city, and they're ready to, like, let it die so that they could have, like, there's the ending where there's, like, all the magic leaving it. Oh no, our water supplying lacrima, or the lights are going out, because they rely on magic so heavily. Though there is a weird thing about that, because it was like, generally it was like, oh, magic's restricted, you can't own it. But I guess, like, some people, like, I guess the town still runs on it. Maybe it's only government, man. No, I'm thinking about the plot again. Though that is kind of a contradiction, possibly. Like, with, like, I don't know if he's gonna be. I mean, if they had infinite magic, anyone could have magic, I guess, in theory. But they're, like, tyrants, so I don't know. Oh, speaking of that, I do like how, like, the Fairy Tale Guild, they're kind of, like, even though their personalities are reversed, they're still, like, similar in that, like, they seem to be about freedom. Like, they want to use magic. They want to walk aside set magic, in a sense, which is what Makarov says all the time. And, like, wait, there's no Edolas Makarov. Oh, well, yeah, maybe he got killed.
Yeah, because they had said that some of the characters died, which
could
be seen as just like an easy way to not, like, what would the Edolas Laxus have been like? Would he have been a super nice guy? We don't know. He wasn't there.
Would he have been the weakest member of Fairy Tail? Maybe. But yeah, so it's like, well, but I guess I like that. Like, they're a dark guild in this world where the government is even more authoritative and, tyrannical. Like, the Magic Council is pretty, overbearing, or at least to the point of brushing heads with, rubbing shoulders with Fairy Tail and butting heads. I think I, like, mixed those two phrases up. But it's like, so this is like a bit more extreme version of that. So yeah. And yeah, Urza Nightwalker's, I guess she's kind of like a more extreme version of, like, because Urza was all about the rules, and now she's kind of loosened up a bit. But now Nightwalker's also about the rules, but to, like, an even a degree of being, like, evil about it, basically, like, almost enjoying it. Like, she's the fairy killer or whatever it was. So yeah. But anyway, Edolas Lucy helps them get magic from, black markets and stuff. And they're completely fucking useless.
They just use it immediately, like, all of it, and they're like, wait, what?
Right. Well, now I think about it, that's mildly interesting, because, like, they're used to having, like, roughly infinite magic, like, as much magic as they have energy to use. So, and they're, especially Natsu, he's pretty strong, so he just goes all out with, something he's not used to from the beginning. Like, there's no Natsu doesn't have restraint in the first place. And Wendy, she's just clumsy. So, like, she's just got the stupid, like, Mashima's got the dumb little face with, like, the big round eyes and the smaller, like, he does it all the time. Like, especially, like, I remember back when, Wendy got kidnapped and she grabbed the cat and it was happy and they both had that dumb face. And you know the one I'm talking about. So I was just looking at it, was Wendy's trying to use her magic, and she's just got that dumb face as she fucks up everything. So yeah, it's it makes sense that they're I wonder. Yeah, I can't think of how that actually ties into the conflict or anything, but I just noticed the general contrast of, like, the characters who are used to having infinite magic or recklessly or clumsily use the magic they do have. where obviously like no other characters really have with the magic have that problem. But anyway, Lucy is there, regular Earthland Lucy.
And she can use her magic.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny, because then she's like, so what you're saying is I'm the strongest one here? And because she's always the weakest, and she's always talking about how weak she is, and now she's like, so I'm the strongest. Like, she gets a moment where she can be like confident. And...
Yes, that was funny, because I'm the strongest fairy tale mage. Yes. Yes, and well, also, like, see, at first, I remember when I was reading it, I thought that she was able to use her magic because she uses the holder magic. Because she has magical keys, like, the magic, it comes from her, but, it also comes from items. But, no, that's not quite how it works. She just had the stuff from Mystagon, which makes sense because, like, the magic still comes from within her, so,
yeah.
Like, for whatever would stop Natsu and Wendy, would also stop Lucy normally. But, I guess speaking of them, because I realized, like, because the Dragon Slayers and their specific magic somehow is, like, super important to Edolas, so it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't be sucked up into anima normally, because it, like, could cause problems. Because that's the thing, Dragon Slayer magic undoes the anima transforming thing into magic process, so, like, if it just indiscriminately sucked up Dragon Slayer magics, like, you could, I don't know, again, I'm just doing weird plot justification things, but it's like, I could see it fucking up with the process somehow. So it's just like, because it's a very specific thing, like, oh, the Dragon Slayers specifically can't get sucked up, but it's like, it makes sense, I'd say. Oh, and I did like the interactions between Lucy and Edolas Lucy, where she's like, hey, her body looks exactly like mine, and Lucy's like, no, don't, stop. Like, that one was fun, because, I mean, Edolas Lucy is, she's fine with showing off her body, but, like, Lucy isn't. Because they're the same body. It's just like weird existential, like like they're making the same faces. I don't know, it was fun.
We also don't get a whole lot of time with Edolas Lucy. Like, it almost seemed like she was going to be a character along for the journey, and then she just kind of leaves.
True, yeah.
I also think it's kind of
so.
Kind of interesting that this world it's set up to be like this alternate reality where, like, we see different versions of the characters, and yet most of the antagonists are new characters. They're not like we do get the alternate Urza, but then it's just otherwise new characters.
Yeah, that might have been interesting to see, like, because if the major ones, or even if, like, because I guess minor spoilers, but we don't really see any of the alternate, like, we don't see the original King Faust in the fairy tale world or anything. Like, we don't see who he's supposed to, or Coco, or any of the other, like, minor antagonists. We don't see their original versions. So it is it's unfair. It's very Earthland centric, don't you think? Where we only see Earthland versions in Edolas, but not Edolas versions in Earth, or vice. You know what I mean? So yeah. Because I guess that's one thing to say, is not a lot from this arc comes back. Like, we do have Lysana and Panther Lily.
Because imagine if they had to fight, like, an evil Makarov or something. I don't know. But then again, I don't know. I'm thinking about it too much. It's fine.
But anyway, yeah, it is kind of like, yeah, they do have, like, the alternate versions and stuff, which is fun. But I guess it doesn't make, like, except for Urza versus Urza, like, not very many of them, like, contribute much overall. Like, I mean, there is kind of, like, a general, like, even if you are, like, just I keep thinking of it as, like, the One Piece thing where it's like, even if you're weak, and up against, like, impossible odds, try anyway, and maybe things will work out, because you have, like, the Fairy Tail Guild. At first they're just running, like, Lucy's at first is like, oh, maybe, or Edolas Lucy, she's like, oh yeah, maybe these guys can save the country, but then she runs away. But then when they fight, and they come to the rescue in the end, and Happy on the island with all the Exceed, he's like, he's just like, he's like the weakest member of Fairy Tail pretty much, but even he's still, like, he's ready to go save his friends, and eventually, like, you have all the other, like, because the soldiers, the Exceed soldiers all got turned into Lacrima, but all the the small regular ones, citizens living on the island, they all went to help and stop the collision later. So it's because and Happy was the one who went first, so you got kind of got that idea coming up a couple of times, so that was there. Though I will say Lucy's powers, like, there was a good thing about Lucy's powers this arc, and a weird thing, like, because she summoned basically all of her spirits, which was fine, though it was weird. I say weird because it's like, I'm looking, and she tried to summon Loki, but instead Virgo came, and she's like, sorry, but then because she's kind of like not helpful to the situation, Lucy like, oh, she can't summon Aquarius because there's no water, and she just kind of dismisses summoning Taurus because she's like, can't call him now, but like later they're in the tunnel, I think, and she does call Taurus, so I'm just like, okay. But the good thing I noticed was that just how like Lucy, you know, I'm the strongest mage in Fairy Tail now, but she actually is getting stronger, because like before, like back in, was it Phantom Lord, or no, it was on Galuna Island with Sherry, she like summoned 2 spirits and she was like tired from you know, the summons, like, oh, yeah. And Sherry was like, oh yeah, it's harder, but now she's able to summon like all of them in like a day, like, so she's getting stronger as a mage, like 1 at a time, but like, because Angel could summon 2 at the same time, and I don't think Lucy has done that yet. But, you know, it's just nice to see her get stronger as a mage, so that's cool.
Yeah, if there's one thing we can give credit to Mashima for, as opposed to, like, I don't know, Kishimoto, is at least Mashima has, like, female characters who are prevalent and are getting, like, character arcs and screen time and stuff.
Oh my god, Mashima has better female characters. Oh no, well, at least one. I was just thinking, like, because I did the whole video trashing Mashima's female characters, but now looking back, it's like, no, I'd say Lucy is good. So it's like, well, fuck. And yeah, Urza, like, that's the thing about Urza, like, she is basically the strongest of the main characters. Like, Natsu gets more moments to shine, but not, you know, Urza, like, it's just been regularly stated that Urza's stronger than him right now, and I'm trying to, I don't know, that would be spoilers, so I'll just ignore it thinking forward. But I will say it's not, I don't know, from what I remember, it's not super clear, but as like the power scaling, so, but let's not. So anyway, they get saved by the Edolas Natsu, the fireball, who's I just like the interaction, because Natsu pulls him out of the car, and he's like, why do you not get motion sickness? Like, he's just curious, and then Natsu's like crying, or Edolas Natsu, little goof.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing Natsu just like have to like interact with like this alternate version of himself. He's like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, and Natsu hasn't really cried yet, so seeing that expression on his face, because it's still Natsu's face, it was interesting, you know, the juxtaposition with like how we normally see Natsu, which is, I guess, the whole fun of the alternate selves thing. It's like, oh, like Kana being like this pure maiden who doesn't drink or whatever, but this one especially I liked, because he's just like we see Lucy's naked body all the time, so Edolas Lucy being a bit more like, you know, showy in that regard, it's, I guess, but like, I don't know, the adults not too crying is good, is what I'm trying to say. I already said that though. So anyway, they go through the secret passage that Carla knows about. There is a lot of like weird reveals around Carla. I think it's fine in the end, because it's like, I'm just trying to think of like, okay, I'm going to the plot shit again, but whatever, bear with me. It's kind of like notable for how the arc goes. So yeah, because Carla has future vision. She saw like the lies that the Exceed were making, because they were like pretending to be, you know, powerful beings so that they could like not be persecuted. Because they you know, they're a magical race in a world that otherwise doesn't have magic. And so like, yeah, she saw the lies, and she got that mixed up with just her general like, you know, duties as an Exceed, where she, and you know, so she led them to this trap where they could get caught, and of course the humans, they also knew the lies, so that's why they explained things to her. So I think it makes sense. If a bunch of plot things happen, I'm just trying to think, like, does it make sense retroactively? That's why I brought up the anima stuff with like, because Lucy also didn't get caught in the anime, or Gajeel, even though we don't see them, we only see Natsu, Wendy, Carla, and Happy. So yeah. But anyway, they get caught. Happy and Carla get sent to the island with all the Exceed, floating island, and then learn more about them. Oh, and I guess going into your like having power and using power thing, the Exceed don't have any power, like, or rather their power is purely like through manipulation and trickery. So, you know, they're gods, but they don't have any power whatsoever. Like, because they're kind of like like they hold on to the power they don't have in a sense. Like you have the cat, the black cat with the pumping fist thing, and he's like, oh yeah, we our queen is like a goddess who sentences humans to death, and they're leaning into the lies to these like Exceed who don't have any other perspective. Like they just accept everything because they don't know like that the Exceed are secretly weak, and they know it, and like they even when apologizing later, they said they went too far in like with their sort of power craze, I guess, in having power over these humans who were just ignorant, and and so here's more of that, I guess. So I guess that ties in, but of course Happy rejects that because like he's he's weak, but having your idea, like I guess that goes into the fairy tale thing back from Phantom Lord, is like even if you don't have power, or whether you have power or not, you also need like integrity and ideals, and Phantom Lord had none, so they just did whatever the fuck they wanted, and now the Exceed are going down that path. Like they're kind of in there, but not as like they're not like they're pretending to kill, they're not actually killing people. So yeah, I don't know, I think, was that where I was going with it? Sure. I'm done, is what I'm saying. Talking about this arc, it's a little bit more interesting than I thought. Like with the conflicts and stuff going on. Like I don't know where it like what it's trying to say in the end, but like there are things here. That's how you start with a final statement. You gotta like realize what's going on first, and then you can maybe tie it up later. And like you said, this is kind of like our first. We already talked about it. All right, so anyway, Happy and Carla escape. They find Happy's parents and learn a bit more about the Exceed and what's going on. And, now that they know what they need to do, they fly off, and it's a moment. It's emotional, I guess. Happy exists. Whatever. I don't know, I'm guessing you still like Plu better than Happy, even after this Happy-focused arc.
See, like, I guess Happy does, like, this does give him, like, something of a character arc, whereas, like, Plu was just the mascot. I don't know. Like, Happy's an actual character. I don't know, because, like, it's not like Plu wasn't a character. I will think on it.
But Plu is cute. So, and Happy's not cute, even though, I don't know. I don't particularly care for Happy's random cuteness, I guess. Wendy is cuter. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, we see the royalty are kind of talking about shit. Nightwalker is dealing with the prisoners. I like the bit with Happy and Carla saving Lucy, and Carla's like flexing her godliness. Like you would have like the fucking light beaming from behind her, and she's like, "Who do you think you're giving orders to?" And hers is like, "Ah, shit." And Happy and Lucy are just like, "What the fuck just happened?" So that was funny.
The interesting thing, on the topic of the alternate Urza, Urza Nightwalker was her name. Very well crafted rave reference once again from our Lord and Savior Hiro Mashima. Yes. Because it was actually really interesting because I like, in retrospect, it's like super obvious. Like, of course, like, yes, you would do it this way. But like, I didn't see it coming at the time because like Urza, her power is like defense. Like she has all these different. Okay, it's all, she also attacks with it, but like she has all these different armors, and so naturally her opponent would be someone who wields the Ten Commandments spear, who has changing weapons.
I only caught this reference this time because last time I read through the arc, I hadn't read Rave, so I wouldn't have noticed when she's using fucking Rune Save and
Soparian and Rune Save.
All of them. That was so good. I thought it was cute because it's just like, yeah, she's just using the same weapons. So I was, and she ended up with the Revelt, the 10th sword that Musica made. And it was. I don't think she used all of them. Like I don't think she used Sacrifar because that one's a bit. That one would be a bit much because it has some very specific rules attached to it that would take away because they have to be explained. The other ones are like, she's using a fire and ice sword now, like with a blue crimson. So it's
she's moving fast, or she cut through my magic. Like it's a really, it might be my favorite reference thus far, like of a Rave reference, because like it. I don't know, it fits in really well, but also, like, it's just cool.
Because
like if
it's
you've
a
read
magical
Rave.
sword. It makes sense as well because it's also like if you think about it, it fits with the Edolas stuff because the whole weakness with Edolas is that because they have to make their own magic, it's very limited. Like Natsu had the big fire sword, but he could do way more with his own fire magic because that's just how Earthland magic works. It's stronger. So the Ten Commandments, like in Rave, it was this really important sword that was able to destroy the Darkblings. But in Fairy Tail, like, she destroyed Thunder Palace with 200 swords. Like, what does Ten Commandments have next to 200 swords, right? Nothing. But because it was, Nightwalker, it's Urza, she's still strong and able to fight with it, but it's still a weaker so it was, and I never noticed it or thought it was weird, like, it makes sense as a weapon, so I never thought, like, oh, that's a really obnoxious, like, Plu, comparatively, it's like, I recognized him from Rave. He's a pretty recognizable character design just because it's so weird. Like, it's just this little white blob with a carrot nose thing. Like, what the fuck is that? It sticks in the brain. So it's like, and then, so when Lucy summons it, it's like, oh, that's thing from Rave. Whereas this, like, maybe if I'd watched or read more Rave, obviously I would have recognized it. But it's like, yeah, it fits in with the setting so perfectly. I never noticed it until rereading Edolas just now. So as like, oh my god, Rave references. So yeah, that was nice. But so I think I agree. Basically, favorite Rave reference in Fairy Tail so far.
Yeah. I just like it because it's like the perfect parallel to like Urza's power.
That too. I like that observation because Urza is,
and it is still like weapons, the magic that is being wielded,
armor,
as opposed to like the magic possessed from within, like you had said.
Yeah. So anyway, since everything's going like with the Exceed or the fallen Exceed rather, with Happy and Carlos, and that Lucy escaped, basically everything goes to shit. All the Exceed warriors get turned into cat Lacrima. Faust basically says, yeah, we don't care about the angels, we're gonna take, and kind of like, yeah, they're actually weak, so they weren't really a threat. But luckily the cavalry arrives with Urza and Gray, who Mystagon saved. They just show up. That's fine. I mean, it pays. Like, I like the little twist, the trickery thing, where Urza takes care of Nightwalker off screen, and then she disguises herself as Nightwalker.
Yeah,
that was good. That was good because they're just using the multiple selves things, and they're like I mentioned, they're kind of similar enough. Like, because she was the rules monger, and now Nightwalker's the rules and authority is good person. It was nice. But yeah, there's a bunch of shit going on. There's the key to the dragon cannon, and all the characters sort of divide into their fights. I liked Lucy's. I don't remember if I had much to say about the others, because like Gajeel just kind of fought Panther Lily for a bit. I don't remember if it even got a real climax. I'll notice going through. Gray fought the guy who could make his ice soft. Natsu fought the guy who could like control the whole amusement park. Oh, I did like the gag where he's got Natsu in the roller coaster and he's just like, haha, I'm going to spin you around until you're sick, and Natsu's like dead in like within seconds because of course.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
See, I guess like an interesting thing with the Gray fight, like when they like froze the key, and so they were like locked in that struggle, like the key was being destroyed and whatever, but obviously he could just make a new key. That was neat. It also kind of reminded me of, I think it was when Laxus was fighting Natsu, and originally, like, that fight started... I had forgot to bring this up in the last podcast, so now I'm going on a tangent to bring it up now. But there was a thing where, like, they had, like... They were like, grabbing onto each other's wrists, and so, like, they were connected while they were, like, throwing each other around and punching and stuff. But then, like, they broke off, and that was that. I don't know. It's, like, an interesting fight mechanic where, like, the two characters are, like, latched onto each other. It makes me think of, like... pro wrestling, like that's specifically like a New Japan pro wrestling thing where the characters, like characters, I say they're real people, but they're characters. One of the main guys, like his gimmick is like he always has like wrist control and it sets him up for like the big move. But it's like they're like fighting each other, but they're like still staying like latched onto each other. So it's like they're never giving up the fight. It's like fighting spirit and
and just in general, it's very like melee oriented, like with all the magic like duels, it makes sense that something so up close and personal would stick out.
So I guess now what I'm saying is I want to read a shonen manga where a fight like that happens, where it's two characters are just like latched onto each other for basically the entire fight.
See, I know Kinnikuman is wrestling, so maybe we'll reread that. I'm trying to remember if there's other wrestling manga. I know Hinamaru Zumo is sumo. Real isn't a shonen, so you can't read it here, but one of the best moments is a wrestling match. I recommended to you that after I read it. I was like, Mathwiz should read this because it's wrestling and it's really fucking good. I mean, it's mostly a wheelchair basketball manga, but the wrestling part was great. So anyway, what was I gonna say? I can't think of any other wrestling. Oh, Tiger Mask, I guess, but it's not fucking translated. There's an anime though. We are way off topic.
But yeah, like I'm trying to remember what happened in like the Lucy fight. I don't even remember who she fought.
I'm getting there.
I'm drawing a blank.
We'll get there. I'll mention what I liked about it. So getting there, first I forgot to mention Coco ran off with the key because she stole it because she was having doubts about the whole thing. And,
that's right.
And Faust zapped her feet, which is just like, oh, you sure do like to run, and they just, that was just like so evil, like almost like comically evil. But that was
the main antagonist of this arc
he's just kind of evil, yeah. I guess we got I'm not counting the evils. Karabe is, but there's another one.
I feel like this main antagonist is kind of like the least interesting of the evil. I mean, well, not least interesting, but like I can kind of like see this like power theme going on here. And he plays into it, but he's also just kind of like a boring antagonist. So like, yeah. I feel like it's not that I find him less interesting than other evil antagonists, but I feel like there could be more here, maybe, or maybe there is more, and maybe we'll point that out as we go along.
But anyway, yeah, Natsu, he just intimidates because the amusement park guy has a bunch of monsters, and Natsu out monsters them. And then Lucy fights the old guy. I'm trying to remember specifically that's what I liked, because she used her spirits, and I don't think any of them worked, really. And she beat him without her spirits at all. Like, he's using magic, but the Earthland mage beats him without magic at all. Like, she just, uses her whip and sort of, gets him to tap his tentacles, and that was cool. I just thought it was cool, because Lucy's she's not even fighting with her spirits anymore. She's just fighting basically a normal person.
I'm
just like, yes,
it
Lucy.
Was the little whip thing she got was like a gift from the spirits. So for like her character arc, it is a way of like,
it's still like
she's
it's a
using her own powers,
being,
but also like still cooperating with them. So it's not like because like before it was like, oh, I don't always have to rely on my spirits. Like I fight with them, but now it's almost like she's fighting in place of them, like she's fighting on her own. Yeah,
because you mentioned the whip, and I thought because her knowledge was her skill in the Duke Everloo, the Daybreak arc, and her kindness has been recurring, and the whip is the result of her kindness, her ability to treat spirits as people, which is apparently fucking rare, because the best two spirit mages we've seen, Angel and Karen, were garbage people to their spirits. And so, but here's Lucy. Yeah, she did get that gift from the spirits, but she's using herself in a cool way, and she doesn't deliver the final blow. He gets knocked out by Natsu, but he was basically helpless anyway, so it was basically her win. And I just thought it was cool. Lucy's cool and good.
Okay, so now you're giving me more complicated thoughts about the themes and the conclusion of this arc, because here was a character So at the end, the whole point is oh, you don't need magic to, be powerful. You don't need magic to survive. And so with this Lucy fight, and also kind of thinking about how I guess the Urza one ends, where the characters are just kind of slugging it out they're out of magic.
That one was pretty direct with the message, yeah.
It makes me think that if all of those fights had ended without the use of magic, maybe there could have been a really cool connected theme of really emphasizing that magic isn't everything. You can be powerful. What's inside is what gives you power, not what you wield, the magic you wield.
Thinking about it, because with Natsu, he didn't win the fight with magic outright. He won it by being scary, which I guess part of that, what you can say, was the magic. But like
when he fought the king, they just kind of used their dragon magic and beat him.
That didn't quite go with that idea.
But maybe it still plays in some way. Like it's about like how you use power. Like I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll think about that. But it's just like I do like the general like it's not across every single fight. But like there's at least the recurrence of just I especially like Lucy's because because like Urza fights Nightwalker to a draw, so that's still good. And of course I do like her line where it's like where like Nightwalker's she's afraid of not having magic, she's terrified of it, and I remember but like Urza says like we don't have magic right now and you're still alive, and I was like okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
like I do like that line. So, like, because with the Gray thing is, like, they're fighting over the key, and the other guy was, like, afraid to lose the key, but Gray just created another one with magic. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, the Gray fight is one that does, like, obviously magic is what wins the day there, unless there's something I'm missing. So,
I'm trying to think to myself, too, but go on.
So I'm not, not quite everything fits into it, but, like, I don't normally talk about, like, I haven't really had much of an opportunity up to this point to really talk about like, oh, here was an interesting theme in Fairy Tail, because like nothing has really jumped out at me. So like the fact that okay, maybe I do actually like this arc because like I am actually able to
yes,
our joke at the beginning of the podcast was real. I actually have something to say.
Yeah, I noticed that back. Well, you messaged me about it. I was like, "Hey, Mathwiz noticed the theme. Maybe something will happen this arc." And because I remember that back when Water 7, you really you thought the Frankie responsibility stuff was interesting, and you had more to say.
It's funny that you brought up Water 7 because I was like, that was a comparison I made in my head because like, oh, power and weapons.
You're right. Oh my god, that's funny. But it's just when you mentioned that, I thought of just that arc because that you had that, because that's honestly something I have a problem with, where it's like if I have something I want to say and someone else says it, or it's like if someone else can say something interesting and but I won't want to make a video on that interesting thing because it's not mine. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm just weird. Maybe I'm weirdly self-centered. I've always kind of been this way. Like, I remember in high school, I had a friend who I was like, yeah, we're going to play through Mother 3 together. And I played it for like a few hours. And then over the weekend, he beat it entirely. And I guess I was kind of competitive because I haven't touched it since. Like, I don't know. It's weird. And like seeing other people do things I want to do or say things I want to say, I guess with the analytical stuff, it like remove some of my enthusiasm to say the same thing. Like if I wanted to do a video and I saw a video that made some of the points I wanted to make, I probably wouldn't make the video, obviously, but it's like this extends to other things. I've seen it, I just noticed it with me in general. So like with Fairy Tail, like for Loot, like the most interesting, like I've seen other interesting comments. Like I liked Hannelor's observations on Eration Seis, as I mentioned earlier, but like for me, like the most interesting stuff I'm getting out of it is Lucy, and no one is like I don't remember any specific comments like making me. I mean, even if they did, they'd be smaller. But I haven't seen any that like were way more interesting than or more interesting than what I felt I had to say personally. So it's like most discussion has been on the stuff that I don't get. Like I had issues with the Grey Leon fight. And Eration Seis, I was just so like frustrated with the whole thing. It was hard for me to say anything. So seeing more interesting observations is fair, and I'm glad for that because I didn't have much to say in the first place. But like, if I had something interesting to say and someone else said what I wanted, or said even more interesting stuff, I might be less enthused to say the interesting things I want to say, if that makes sense. So that's a personal issue. I'll figure it out myself one day, or maybe I'll just try to at least pay attention to it more. So I can understand what the fuck my deal is. I don't know if you have the same issue.
Well, I know, that. Like, for me, like, I get concerned about, like, potentially, like, stealing other people's ideas. So I do prefer to, I guess, like, dig deeper into thoughts that I've come up with myself. Like, even if someone else has thought of them elsewhere, like, as long as I have not interacted with that and, like, I think of it of my own. Like, obviously, I haven't really watched much, like, analysis of Fairy Tail, so other than like your tirade, which I barely even remember. So
yeah. Well, it's funny because earlier you mentioned like, oh yeah, I wouldn't go make a video about Fairy Tail's plot holes or whatever, and then I have thought back to my videos on all the plot holes that I don't even care or agree with anymore.
I have been verbally subtweeting Craftsdwarf over the course of this podcast. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know, because like there are points, like I made my like Bleach Vengeance video was kind of like a mix of like compiling ideas I was like, ideas that kind of started from other people, and then like
that's right,
working that in.
Did a bunch of research and found some really interesting analysis, and then you see like I guess speaking for me, like if I was in your shoes, like reading that great Tosin analysis, I might not have been willing to talk about Tosin unless I had something meaningful to add. Like I don't want to just add,
I was a little like that was I think why I struggled to make that video for so long was because like
gotcha.
Not that I found the Tosin analysis a little later on in production, but whereas like the Geen stuff, like most of that I got from like your Curious Cat, whoever gave them to you from through Curious Cat words. And so like I was stuck on it for a while because I couldn't think of like, okay, now how do I take this and add on to it and kind of like make it my own?
Right. It's like, because if you don't add anything, that what like you're just changing the medium that this original thing was in, and like does that justify it? Especially because it's YouTube, you're the one getting paid. Like isn't that just like plagiarism or profiting off someone else's content? Like if you don't add anything meaningful, then you have to justify it. But I guess like for me that also factors into my personal interest with the thing. I guess I don't know. But we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I might make a positive fairy tale video one day, so I don't know. But if maybe there's already a good Lucy analysis out there, I have no idea. I haven't looked yet. So anyway, trying to get back on topic. Nightwalker captures Gray and Natsu, except not really. I also do like when Nightwalker actually comes back. Like she's just fucking pissed off, and then she ends up like cutting her hair, like so that Urza can't do it again. So anyway, Panther Lily kind of gets won over with Natsu, and everyone like they're not gonna give up. They're gonna keep fighting. And and then we see the with the Exceed, the queen comes clean with all the lies and stuff, and they all go to fight. Oh yeah, and Mystigon finally fucking shows up after being secret background boy the whole arc.
Yeah.
It was fine. I just thought oh yeah, there you are. But so yeah, they saved the Lacrima, the Earthland Lacrima. It goes back to Earthland, but they're still stuck there, and everything's going like we basically get to the final couple fights, because the king, he's got a fucking Metal Gear robot, just gonna fucking. I don't know why maybe it's similar to one of the designs. I've only played Revengeance, the action game. So maybe it's similar to one of the designs I can't think of right now, but I just got Metal Gear. I should play the franchise one day, but I don't know. And yeah, we get the Nightwalker fight. I think we've already kind of talked about the Nightwalker fight, because it's like I like the ending. Devolving into a slugfest is always a good trope. Like they were fighting with swords and shit before, but then they're just fucking punching the shit out of each other. I don't remember seeing it between two female fighters though. Like that's pretty uncommon. Like off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool fight, and obviously like more so like after the fact. Like while I was reading it, less so, but like now that I'm thinking like, okay, how does this play into the whole idea of like power and stuff? And so
magic and power and humanity, the individual. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. That said, I'm gonna check my notes again and see if I had anything to say about the Natsu fight, because they beat it with teamwork. Obviously, they're the three dragons. I do kind of like how the actual teamwork, because like Gajeel pins it down, Wendy gives Natsu a boost, and Natsu just goes through it. It was cool, I guess.
There were a few really cool looking like full page spreads of like the three dragons.
Yes, standing over the defeated Faust, and he's just like fucking terrified, and you see, oh yeah, that was good. It's actually kind of interesting how he like he'll just like replace the dragon slayers with their dragon parents during like the fighting and stuff. Like I hadn't actually thought about it really.
I think one of the characters had also described the king's little fighter thing. I don't know what to even call it. I I thought someone had described it as kind
the
of like a makeshift dragon, so to speak. So it's like the fake dragon gets destroyed by the three.
I guess you could see that as like he's trying to make something he doesn't have. Like it's similar to how he's trying to steal magic, where it's like, I mean, I wouldn't say they use fake magic. They use real magic, but it's like it's just wrong. So, but this is an imitation dragon. But yeah, it ends up getting defeated by the real dragon slayers, so to speak. I mean, hey, he made a dragon and they fought dragon slayers. What the fuck did he expect was gonna happen? Like they even said that, like, yeah, it's just a dragon, and but yeah, like I'm thinking about his like general motivation of like wanting infinite magic, like comparing it to Hardener. Remember from Rave, he also wanted infinite, so to speak, like for endless. That was it, but he had limitations to his powers. So you actually had like his desires working into how he was defeated. I don't necessarily think that's here, like because he kept wanting. Oh wait, hold on. I mean, actually, maybe he did, because it's like, I don't know, like I'm reading this panel where he's like he's saying gather more magic for his drumming unit, like he's barking orders to someone. So maybe he was running out of magic power. I'm not sure if there's like an explicit moment of that, but when he's about to be defeated, like where the mech just stops working because he ran out. But yeah, no, that doesn't seem to happen. He just gets defeated. So almost, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not sure what else there was to take from it, because yeah. I mean, of course, he was using a machine, like, because, yeah, that's the thing. I guess he gets defeated and taken out of the mech. Like, he's still healthy and fine, but he had no power on his own. So, yeah, that's something. Like, he was just, because that's kind of the thing. The whole arc is basically like an expansion of Lucy's character arc, especially earlier on, where it's like they're relying on this magic instead of themselves. So, yeah. And, of course, Urza in Tower of Heaven. So, it's just a very recurring idea, I've noticed. I wonder, like, is there more to come with it? I have no idea, because it's just been so consistent. The reliance on magic, which is something. So anyway, the magic starts to leave the entire world, since Mystagon is using reverse anima, and to fix the problems of the country, he's planning to have Panther Lily be the king, and he can, well, after killing him, though Panther Lily disagrees, it doesn't work out that way. And of course, as we find out, it was kind of a doomed plan to fail from the start, because Panther Lily was about to get sucked up for having magic. But Mystagon didn't know. Oh, that's right. This is the moment I bitched about in part 1 of the tirade, even though it was a complete misunderstanding on my part, because I was like, how did Natsu come up with the same plan as Mystagon? It doesn't make any sense. He's not supposed to be that smart, but like the other cat like flew over and told Natsu what was going on, and Natsu just copied the plan, like he knew about it. And I just like missed that part entirely, like because because Mystagon even asks, or Panther asks, like, what are they doing? Like, and the cat comes in, he's like, oh, I told them, and it's like, and I missed that, so I just like spent like 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, bitching about this fucking moment, even though there's nothing wrong with it. It's like when we were like ranting about the Deidara Sasuke fight, and in retrospect, it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense if you don't pay attention. Exactly. But yeah, this was another, like, this is almost like, oh, I don't know about you, but the Demon Lord, or Dragon Lord, Dragneel, like, he had the headband, and the lines around his eyes were drawn. He gave me Lucia vibes.
No, yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I wasn't alone. Good to know.
And I wonder if that was intentional, because Mashima does his references, so...
Yeah, and the headband is just like... Well, honestly, the headband kind of... I feel like it vanished sometimes. Like, in some panels it's there, in some panels it's not. It seems. So, but it's just like... Yeah, I kept seeing Lucy, and I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, I guess it makes sense that if he's going to be this Dark Lord, he's going to look like the Dark Lord from Mashima's other manga. So...
See, and yeah, like the other sort of like interesting thing with this whole development is like you have, I was about to say Sieg, you have Mystagon who, so he is like, I don't think it was ever really like stated outright, like it was never like explained fully, but you can basically just infer it. He's just the Edolas Joel, like that's what that was. Because they do call him
Yes,
Jalal.
he was the Edolas Jalal, just like the Natsu the Fireball was the Edolas Natsu and such.
So the interesting thing about like Mistogan in this conflict is he tries to, like, he is the one who takes all the magic away from the world, and then he's like, oh well, then you have to kill me or whatever. Like, I need to be the villain to the stop. And then Panther Lily is like, no, you're just trying to run away from your problem, just like Jalal did. He's just trying to run away from his problems and not take responsibility for them. And so, like,
he's not even reverse Jalal. He's just regular Jalal again.
Yeah,
Which I think I complained about before,
I'm not
but it's go on.
quite sure what like the sort of the difference between the two would be. Like, I don't know. I guess this one's a prince. The other one is he was just some orphan in this slave labor camp.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was Jalal was like he was a kid who was abducted and made to be a slave, and that's like all we know about his like origin before the Tower of Heaven stuff. And then where this Mystagon also, like, he was kind of like he did, he was a prince, but then Panther Lily saved him and got exiled for that, and then he ended up going to Earthland when he was 7,
but
give or take.
It had the like the other characters, like at various points people had said like, oh, even if you are a different version of me, you are still me deep down. Like, they still have sort of like similar values. And so like it is interesting that Mystagon does a similar thing to what Jalal tries to do, as far as like running away from his the mess that he made, but then he has to learn to take responsibility for it, and that's what he does.
That's a good point. Because thinking back to Stupid Past Me, it's like, because I think I just said I criticized like Edo Jalal for basically being the same as Jalal, and maybe we didn't see enough about Mystagon to really find like the goofy opposite part he is. But yeah, you're right. The cores are the same. Fairy Tail is still this guild that goes for freedom. Urza is still at her core this rules monger who wants order. And so there are similarities and there are differences. I guess, like, because the opposite with Nightwalker is that, like, Urza was willing to open up to her guild and be allies with them, whereas Nightwalker fucking killed fairies. Like, she was the opposite of a friend to the fairies. I guess, like, it would have been neat to see where Jalal and Mystagon are opposite. Maybe there's something I haven't thought about yet, because obviously, we're going to see more regular Jalal in the future, but we haven't yet, so yeah. It's weird. It's just weird to me that after bitching about Jalal for years, like, he's not a bad character. Like, it's the same issue with Sieg, where it's like, I was like, oh man, he's the worst. But then I reread Raven, he's just like, not a great character, but he's not bad. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the only thing that will probably still bug me for the rest of time is just that it is the same character design, basically. And Sieg was such a meme in the first place that it's like the meme is still going on. And then also, like, having the three different Siegs, like, it works in the context of Fairy Tail, but at the same time, it's also just like, he's a meme, Sieg.
I can't wait till we read Eden Zero and find this supposed other Sieg that I know nothing about. Go read Magicians, Mashima's first one-shot. It also has a Sieg. Oh boy. He just really likes this design, I guess. This character. But anyway, the magic is going. It gets drained up. Like, after Natsu has, like, they basically have the fight that, like, Urza and such have, where, like, oh look, the king won without magic. We can live without magic. Everything will be fine. Sort of spreading that message, and Jalal, Mystagon's, he's king of Edolas now. But yeah, everyone goes back, including the Exceed, who were magical, so now they gotta figure out their shit on Earthland. We find out more about the Carla Future Sight stuff that we already knew about, because we already read the reading. Oh, Panther Lily turned tiny and cute. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that was interesting, because, like, I know Gajeel at first was, like, drawn to him because, like, oh, here's this giant cat. Like, he's obviously so much stronger than the other two. Like, of course, Gajeel will be the best because he has the best cat. But even then, no, he's still... There's just a panel of him, like, hugging the cat and crying. And he's like, my cat. So...
Congeal.
I feel like these two are gonna have some good interactions because like when Panther Lily showed up, he's like, you promised me that I could get into Fairy Tale so I could continue my mission or whatever, and so
Yes. And then we get the last chapter, Lisana, who turns out to be real and not dead, because like she quote unquote not died, and then Anima sucked her up, and
although it is, a weird question maybe to ask, if the Anima like transported her to the other why did her body stay behind when that didn't happen to any of the other characters in
and why her body and also like if the body, or wait, did it mention only the body stayed behind or not?
Well, because like there was a panel where like her sister Mira Jane had like found her body like after like as she was explaining what was going on.
Yeah, because I'm also seeing the Anima sort of sucking or like around her, and Mira's got like sweat drops around her face, like shock. And so I don't know.
Okay,
if,
maybe
like,
not. Maybe that was just
which is also weird. Like the body just fucking vanished, and I guess, I mean, what are you supposed to think? So yeah, it's weird. But yeah, and there's a tearful moment. Lisana's explained herself, like she has a tearful goodbye with the guild, and she's like, wait, I'm one of you. I shouldn't be vanishing with you. And then, no, we already knew. Like, they just accept that, they let her be Lisana, and then
you get like the double impact of the emotional moments, because you get the one where she's getting, I mean, like, from her perspective, this has got to be like a lot to process, because like she was in an alternate reality, but still like with her family. But then she's getting like pulled away from that. Well, not just that she's leaving that family because she's going back to her family. It's just a different version of the family. But like she is removing herself from this alternate family. And so like she's taking herself away from them, which is like a sad thing. But then also she goes back and it's like, oh, a happy reunion, happy tears.
Yeah. And I do like Mira's expression when she says, welcome home. Like, it's good. Happy it's ended. Yeah, the arc's over.
The way you had set that up earlier, I thought you were going to, like, complain about something.
I'm not done.
Oh, no!
Because, like, this moment is fine. Like, and, I mean, I guess, like, try to look at, like, so, Mira and Elfman, they already, like, overcame their grief. They decided they weren't going to lose anyone else, when they protected each other from the Phantom Lord robot and Freed. But now I guess, the Edo, Elfman, and Mira, like, they're accepting their loss and letting Lisana go, whereas Mira and Elfman already accept their loss, so they get Lisana back. I don't know. My issue is Lisana does very little after this. Like, so I don't know why Mashima brought her back, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah,
this is it. Like, there's a couple moments, one of them of note in a future arc, I guess, a small one in the next arc, but other than that, like, she like, let's put it this way, Wendy and Gajeel, like, there was the cover of them with like Lucy, Ursa, Grey, and Natsu, so it's like you got this like main six. Lisana's like still less important than like Mira and Elfman, and like she becomes one of the background characters, basically, like slightly above them, but like so that's like a bit much, but it's like, it's just weird. Like, why spend so much bringing, like, weird, like, oh, the Anima just happened to grab her at the same time. Why do so much to bring her back when, and not do much of anything with her? Like, maybe there's something I'm missing and I'm wrong, but that's just my memory. And
no, that does sound a little weird. Like, especially after in the last podcast we had talked about how Wendy, like, her introductory arc it could have done a better job at like introducing her, like, because I had said like she didn't even feel like she was going to be a main character, but she kind of becomes one, whereas like this character had quite a bit of setup. Like, we knew her relationship with her brother and sister. We knew that she had some sort of relationship with Natsu through that flashback chapter with Happy's egg, and so now you're telling me she just kind of becomes a background character, which is a little underwhelming, because like you'd almost think that she's like,
yeah, like, because this reunion moment, I like it. Like, I'm just looking at it, I'm just seeing the panels of, like, all the emotions and the happiness and the rain. It's emotion. But then, like, and yeah, the build up, there was the flashback chapter where, like, Lisana and Natsu are being adorable kids trying to raise the egg, and it was obviously a major thing with Elfman and Mira, who, like, they're like, they got focus in those those fights, overcoming their grief. And then you're gonna like bring Lysana back, but like why spend so much time on that and not do much after that? I don't know. I don't know. Again, maybe there's something I'm misremembering, but like at least like because she doesn't get any fights, which isn't really like a negative to her character, obviously. Like I'm not saying, but like she doesn't get much focus in general either. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's like the Pell thing. Except, like, at least Pell, is at, like, you read the Reverie, he's at the Reverie, so maybe he'll get into some fighting, like, I don't know, but it's, like, that's still, which is also, like, the least satisfying moment in the entirety of One Piece for me, which is actually kind of funny when you think about it, that with the song, it's just like, oh yeah, another character came back from the dead, oh well. But with One Piece, it's like, this is the worst moment in all of One Piece. Anyway, I think I've said about all I have to say. But yeah, Edolas was one of those talking about it made me like it better moments. So, and you seem to feel roughly the same.
Yeah, I know, like, right before the podcast, we kind of joked, like, it was better than Oracion Seis, and I was like, well, Oracion Seis, that's a very low bar to clear. But it actually, yeah, it was I enjoyed a fairy tale arc, huh?
Yeah. Does that make it your favorite somehow? Maybe. Because I still definitely like Fairy Festival, the fighting, the Battle of Fairy Tail with Laxus and like Galuna more. And I'm trying to decide of like where it ranks with like Tower of Heaven and Daybreak now. Because yeah, there was like, again, like it's not, is it like perfectly like did every moving part focus on this, some of its like complex ideas? Probably not. If anything, there might have been some contradictions too. But I still liked what I got out of the arc, So, and again, even if it is kind of the same idea as the Lucy stuff. So I definitely liked it more than expected.
Yeah, I don't know. It might actually be my favorite up to this point because it was
like,
kind of like with Water 7. Like it was an arc where I was like, here's an idea I can latch on to, and I actually found it. Yeah,
something happened that got invested. You invested. That's cool. Mathwiz Edolas video win.
After I do the Water 7 video.
Oh no! Please, actually, I want you to do that video. So please. But anyway, so yeah, that is about all we had to say. Fun arc, short. It's funny that it actually turned into a decently long discussion. Like it's almost we're at my recording's at 1 hour and 40 minutes right now, so the podcast will be shorter. But that's longer than I expected it to be. I was like, oh man, we got to hit it at least an hour, right, to be worth it. But no, this is actually fair enough. Like for the short amount of chapters we read, this was pretty good, I'd say. Like I mean, there were a lot of comments and tangents and stuff, but it felt organic to me. So it's fine. So anyway, next time, again, 2-week break. So maybe we should spread out that reading a bit, Mathwiz, so we're not like pumping 70 fucking or no, it's only 57 chapters, or 58 chapters. Chapters 200 to 257. This arc, like I said before, this was when I first dropped Fairy Tail out of disgust. Some of it might have been unearned, like like me being dumb. Like again, like my initial dissatisfaction with the Erasion say stuff makes some kind of sense. Or no, not the dissatisfaction, like the scenes that I was previously wrongly dissatisfied over. Like, there's something there that it was, done to get angry over. I'm really interested in revisiting this arc, though, because, like, it's longer, so there's going to be more context. Like, you were saying, like, oh, maybe I would have liked Edolas better if it was longer. And we were saying that about Monster Soul, too. So here we have a longer arc. What'll I have to say about it? It also has one of my favorite moments in the series from memory, and I hope it stays that way, even if there's something... I don't know. We're just going to read it. 200 to 257. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.